Hey everyone, welcome into Dom Time. Joining me in studio is Shira Goodman from Pennsylvania Ceasefire. She is Ceasefire Pennsylvania. She is the executive director, and we've been talking about some of the agendas, some of the things that will come out of the Sandy Hook massacre. Joining us also is Sean Burke, President, School Safety Advocacy Council, to talk about schools and some of the ideas that have come out of there when we see a school that, by any standard that we've talked about tonight, was doing many of the right things, and still we had this carnage result. Sean Burke, thanks for joining us from Boston. What's your biggest takeaway out of what we've seen play out as far as how the school handled this and what the result was?
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me. The way we're looking at it and the information that's coming out right now, apparently this school had done many of the things right. Done many of the things that we provided our training to school districts and campuses across the country. The sad part is that when most people look at this and we start to come out with the information and say that this school did this right, that school did that right, some people may have the attitude, well, that didn't help at all. And I think we have to come away with this, and as we come in to teach educators about emergency management and preparing their school, that the things that they did right probably limited the amount of damage and death that occurred. And I know that's hard to hear.
No, I've been saying that, and I agree with that, Sean, but then that does get us back to, and we know these are rare situations, thank God. Let me just throw a few at you that we've been kicking around, that even people here at the TV station said, are there any school districts that use bulletproof glass or limit the number of windows, limit the number of ways that an intruder can get in?
Well, there are. And right now, every school district in this country should be having a school safety assessment. Whether they bring in an outside agency or they bring their local police department or someone that is versed in CPTED, that's crime prevention through environmental design, where we look at certain buildings in certain areas and figure out how we should improve it. There are schools that use the tempered glass and some that have the blob wired in the glass that actually will slow down entrance into a building. But unfortunately, when a lot of these schools were built, school safety was not an issue. People didn't think of, how do I protect this building from an attack? And unfortunately, that's what we have to think of today.
Well, I think Shira Goodman had reservations about what I don't have as many about, other than strict training, regulation, thoughtfulness here. What about someone armed in there, either teacher, administrator, or even an armed guard if it comes to that?
Well, I was just listening and being involved in countless news interviews already. I've been going point counterpoint with several people, and we have certain people in this country now that think that administrators or principals or teachers should be armed with guns. We're totally against that, and I don't think that is the answer.
But Sean, let me joust with you a little bit and ask why totally. In many places in the country, I talked to a couple of people out here that have grown up with weapons, rural areas and others. They're very able with weapons, and they're very capable people. And I know that at least in Pearl, Mississippi, the vice principal apparently stopped the kid as he was headed off to a second school. Why take that out of the mix? Is it a responsibility issue? What is the fear?
Well, I don't think just because you've grown up hunting or you've grown up around a gun and went to a range, that doesn't give you the ability to address that militant-style attack that happened. And that's not going to give you the ability to address any kind of attack that comes into school just because you're familiar with a gun. You look at law enforcement officers and the years and years of training they go through and the training that they keep up several times a year, shooting in different kinds of scenarios. And we still look at these trained police officers and trained military officers who still sometimes have a hard time reacting to the situation.
Okay, well, hold that short, Sean. But Shira, let me go back to you again. You weren't as far as Sean on this when we went around with this originally. He's pretty much completely against the idea. This is, I would say on your side of it, a very rare case that we have almost no other option here. In a case like this, though, wouldn't it have been better if someone had been armed? I mean, I don't know what else you would have done once he shot his way through there. All the procedures in play, and we still have 20 little ones that are killed.
I don't know. I don't know that he wouldn't have shot that person immediately.
Okay.
And now had access to another gun, another adult who couldn't be there to help kids.
But most of these people, though, are armed severely when they're going to come in and do something like this.
Right. And that's the other thing. He was wearing body armor. I mean, would one guard with a gun have been able to get him before he could do his damage? I don't know.
Well, I think there's a shot and there's a delay factor. You know, the more seconds it take off the clock, the more of a sense of having to engage someone, my sense is the police have a better chance of getting there. Sean, would you disagree with that, though? At least in this case, and I realize it's a tough one on the side of those who would oppose this in schools for the other obvious risk. In this case, wouldn't there have been some benefit to this?
There would have been a great benefit to have an SRO there, an armed, sworn police officer that's highly trained. Even meeting him at the door, as you said, he may not have been able to kill, but obviously our tactics have changed. We don't just go for body shots now. Now you're looking at people that wear body armor, so we're trained now to aim at the head also. But you do have that delay factor. Whether he could kill that intruder at the door, he would have delayed him.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much. We're flat out of time. Thank you. Thanks for the good work you do. And Shira Goodman to be continued. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Dom Time with a special remembrance of the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School attack. That's coming up. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dom Time. You know, each week, usually I talk about something, some annoyance, something personal that's happened to me in this last segment. But as a parent, the thing that happened to me personally and all the parents that I've talked about, your heart just goes out. You can't even imagine losing someone in the manner of these parents so close to Christmas in Sandy Hook Elementary School. I hope tonight we've started to scratch the surface of some of the issues, and these issues will crop up: mental health, profiling, guns, the whole array of them. What we'd like to do is now run the names of the victims from Sandy Hook Elementary.